nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment on agenda items. Please stand out to speak if you wish to. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to list the public comment. Although state law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we have chosen to do so because we believe it's crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns and issues. The board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a debate or dialogue. Please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns and questions tonight. We take concerns and questions seriously and we have sufficient time to process and research issues if need be. Any questions from the public should be submitted to the use of the public comment form, which can be obtained online or at the desk of the district clerk. We'll have the proper staff member to give that to you as appropriate. I also want to point out that under state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to address any comments or questions about specific students or school personnel. We would ask you to go through the appropriate administrative channels. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow for public comment on agenda items only. Public comments at the beginning of the meeting is limited only to the agenda items. Person who wishes to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting are asked to provide their name and a specific agenda item about which they wish to speak. A sign-up sheet is located on the desk with the district clerk. Individual comments on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes and are welcomed. If you wish to address items related to our school district that are not on tonight's agenda, an comment period is provided at the end of the meeting for that purpose. A second sign-up sheet is available for non-agenda items. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, or any disturbance or disruption during either public comment period is not permitted. At this time, comments related to agenda items are welcome. Are there any comments, Alberta? No. Seeing none. 4.02, communication none received by the Board of Education. Peggy?
Mr. Lumia and I had the opportunity to go to Albany with the John Jay and Royce Ketchum string groups and band groups to perform at the State Education Department. It was very impressive, and I am sure that the people who saw it and heard were very impressed. And then the next day, with a number of the other members of the board who are here, a lot of us went to the Chamber of Commerce breakfast and heard the Ketchum Chamber Choir perform. They were also very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Cheryl?
Yes, I'd like to say for probably the 6th time in the past 10 years, I had the opportunity to be here at Wappingers Junior High for their annual caroling event as the students come into school. And once again, it was a wonderful event. It's a testimony to Mr. Ramirez, who is the heart and soul of the school, to keep that going. And I also want to commend the members of his student government who were extremely poised and focused on their responsibilities and what they were doing with the caroling, even as classmates may not have been as appreciative of their efforts. They are truly young men and women of character.
Anyone else? John?
Earlier today, I read a letter that East Fishkill Town Supervisor Nick D'Alessandro sent to the Board of Education as a whole through our clerk, Alberta Pedro, thanking the Board of Education for the use of the John Jay Auditorium for the wake service of Officer Didado. While that was very generous and kind and thoughtful of the town supervisor, from my own perspective, speaking for myself, the Board of Education really shouldn't be accepting any thanks for that. That thanks goes to many people. I'll leave this to Dr. Bonk to comment on at the building level, administrators, custodians, and if I'm missing anybody, I apologize. students. And if with that correction I'm missing anybody, I'm sure Dr. Bonk will correct me, as well as members of the senior staff. So while we appreciate that, thank you, it really doesn't belong coming to the Board of Education, in my opinion. Thank you.
I want to thank the John Jay students who initiated and raised $5,000, which was donated to the Mary Fair Erie Children's Hospital. On behalf of the Board of Education, I want to thank the buildings and grounds individuals, supervisors, and custodians who worked tirelessly to get the school grounds ready for school opening this morning. I also want to thank Mr. Bros for also helping with the snow removal by running pickup with a plow. So thank you, Mr. Bros. He's always doing more than he's supposed to. And with that, any other comments? Seeing none, the superintendent report.
Thank you, President Lumia. A number of items to address this evening, just to add to what Vice President Morgan said. The board does deserve thanks for supporting that effort. We are a community. We lost a beloved community member. And at that time, it was important not only for the school community, but our entire district to come together and grieve and support that individual and those individuals negatively impacted by the tragic accident. I do need to thank the building administration at John Jay High School, in particular, Principal Ketzelawa and Assistant Principal Albanese, the teachers in the building, the students for making signs. It was very, very well attended, and I couldn't be more proud of the school and the community and the district for our collaboration with the town of East Fishkill and the police department in regards to grieving the loss of this fine individual. So Trustee Morgan, I do believe the board does deserve credit for supporting that effort. That took a lot of work, and it took a lot of time and a lot of determination. In addition to that, I'd also like to thank Dutchess County Emergency Services and the numerous police departments who were at the service and who participated in the service, and we're there to, again, support our community. So thank you for mentioning that, Trustee Morgan. In addition to that, for those of you who don't know, tomorrow is a very important day. It's Law Enforcement Officials Appreciation Day. And based upon the collaborative efforts that our district has with local law enforcement in the 7 municipalities that we serve, it is important for us to recognize those individuals for serving and protecting us every day. Gayhead Elementary School has had a breakfast for the police officers during the morning. That will happen tomorrow. In addition to that, there will also be a program. All of the municipalities, all of the elected officials, police chiefs, and so on and so forth have been invited. We want to recognize our entire school community, and we thank our law enforcement officers for doing what they do every day. We are one of the few school districts in the region that has uniform trained police officers in all of our buildings during some portion of the school day. I know how important that is to this community. That remains a priority with our administration and with this Board of Education. Safety is our top priority. And I think tomorrow we need to, and we will, show our appreciation for our law enforcement professionals. I would ask you to look at the district website or the school websites. They will all have information on there thanking the specific departments and the individuals who are responsible for overseeing such. President Lumia? No, there's a program at 11 o'clock. There will be certain dignitaries there at 11 o'clock. The program is open to the individuals at Gayhead Elementary School and East Fishkill at 9:30. At 10:30, it will be open to law enforcement personnel throughout the county, which will include the New York State Police, the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, the town of East Fishkill, the town of Fishkill, the village of Fishkill, the village of Wappingers Falls, and the town of Poughkeepsie. So again, we thank them. So again, that breakfast will begin at 10:30. There will be a short program to follow at 11 o'clock. I need to thank Principal Daly at Gayhead, as well as the Gayhead PTSA. They have organized this entire event. I also would like to thank Director Broas for all of his work in making sure that the area is clean and ready tomorrow for the program. In addition to that, Director Broas, I need to thank you and Assistant Superintendent Crandall. Needless to say, when you get a storm of the magnitude that we got, that was forecast to begin on Saturday, even though it's not impacting the school day, as we are the 9th largest district, we have many programs and activities that go on during the course of the weekend. And it required a lot of work that was done by particular Director Broas, Assistant Superintendent Dainty, and the high school principals in making determinations as to whether some trips should occur, whether they shouldn't occur, whether we should change the times, what routes they're going to be taken. We had individuals going out to Central New York. We had individuals going to the Capital Region and other areas throughout New York State. So I want to thank them for all of the work that they did this weekend. And of course, the fact that when I found out yesterday at 5 o'clock that we were ready, our 15 schools were ready to open at 5 o'clock the day that the snow stopped, probably around 12, is a tremendous accomplishment. And Director Broas, if you deserve credit, and you Assistant Superintendent Dainty as well, and all of the members of our facilities, operations, and transportation departments for having that as a priority and getting the job done. I will now move on to recognition of our athletes who were awarded sportsmanship awards through Section 1 and the Wappinger Central School District Athletic Department. You know as well as I do that athletics is more than winning and losing. Some people might say that's not the most important thing. I would be one of those people. Hey, I'm competitive and I like to win. I don't like to lose. I don't think anybody does. But the true measure of a team is its character, its sportsmanship, and the way in which they interact with each other and their opponents on the court. They win with grace and they lose with grace. The fact that we have over 20 individuals from John Jay High School and Roy C. Ketchum High School that are being recognized for their outstanding sportsmanship is to be commended. And we have members of the athletic department here this evening. We have Director Jessman. We have Athletic Administrator Corsano. Could we give them a round of applause? I also see Coach Herman and Coach Mahoney. Could you give them a round of applause? And I don't know if I've missed anybody, but if I have, I apologize. All of you deserve thanks for the job that you do every day and the fact that you instill the importance of quality sportsmanship within our athletes. And not only are they successful on the court or on the field, but they also tend to be very successful in the classroom as well. So again, there's an important correlation there. So I'm going to go through the names. Some individuals are here. If you are, please rise so we can recognize you. From Roy C. Ketchum High School Game Day Cheer, Claire Ryder. From John Jay High School Game Day Cheer, Isabella Colucci. From Roy C. Ketchum Boys Cross Country, Connor Hitt. From John Jay High School Boys Cross Country, Jeremiah Tavares. From Roy C. Ketchum Girls Cross Country, Dalal Goons. From John Jay High School Girls Cross Country, Charlotte Wang. From Roy C. Ketchum High School Field Hockey, Katie Sauve. From John Jay. From John Jay High School Field Hockey, Alexa Cazorla. From Roy C. Ketchum High School Football, Christopher Thomason. From John Jay High School Football, James Berg. Roy C. Ketchum High School Boys Soccer, Aiden McLaughlin. John Jay High School Boys Soccer, Kyle Radisak. Roy C. Ketchum, girls soccer, Catherine Hoto. John Jay High School girls soccer, Megan Fidish. Roy C. Ketchum High School girls swimming, Nella Morgan. John Jay High School girls swimming, Maura Nessler. Roy C. Ketchum High School girls tennis, Sophia Chang. John Jay High School girls tennis, Ava Volkman. Roy C. Ketchum boys volleyball, Shane Kilba. John Jay High School boys volleyball, Braden Budd. Roy C. Ketchum girls volleyball, Sade Reyes. John Jay High School girls volleyball, Lindsay McDonough. A collective round of applause for all of them. Again, we are so very, very proud of you. And again, our thanks to our athletic department and our coaches. Trustee Lumi, I believe you'd like to say something next. You meander close to my ear.
No, it's important to realize that the coaches themselves of these particular teams actually nominated these students. So thanks to the coaches for nominating all those students.
And it's also important to note that those nominations were reviewed by Section 1, in which we are a proud member of. Thank you. And I believe that concludes my report for this evening, President Lumia.
You did a good job, I must admit. You always do a good job.
Oh, you're too kind, my friend.
In fact, you pronounced those names better than I did. That's really good. Anyway. 5.02. K-3 Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Dr. Michelle Carwell. Dr. Carwell, you got the podium.
Everybody's leaving. Thank you, Jeff, for staying.
You didn't scare everybody. Not a clear room.
All right, everyone, can you hear me? Yep. All right. Good evening. Welcome to today's presentation. For those of you who had an opportunity to view the presentation prior to today, yes, there are a lot of slides. However, I will not be reviewing each of the slides. A lot of them were for you to peruse on your own and or ask questions. I will not be reading each of the slides as we go through them. I know there were a lot. I know the slide is small. I'm not asking you to read. It's more of an information slide. This is a sample of the Leading and Learning website that our teachers and any staff member with a Wappinger Central School District email address that includes the Board of Education has access to. This is a website that houses our curriculum. We started off by housing all of our K-6 curriculum, and we are beginning to add other grades and other content areas. So we have one depository, if you will, for all of our curriculums and scope and sequence. So this is a work in progress. Up at the top, you can't really see, but on the web, look at the top, you will have different content areas, ELA, mathematics, science, and social studies. You also see it on the blue banner. If you wanted to look at a specific curriculum or scope and sequence for a grade for English language arts, you would click the English language arts button. You will get a drop down and you will see kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and so on. And you'll be able to access the tools and the resources that the teachers access, as long as the units that are being taught and the resources that are being taught. And it's the same thing for mathematics also. On the front page, this is the page you see here, you will see three larger squares. One is the assessment calendar. The second one is the humanities curriculum overview. This is where we have the ELA and social studies scope and sequence by units, by month, so it's a pacing guide, also K-6. And the STEAM curriculum overview is set up in a similar manner where it contains the each grade scope and sequence with units by month, and how it aligns with mathematics and science. When you click on one of the grade levels, so for example, if you click on ELA and you click on first grade, you will be brought to this particular screen. You will have an opportunity up at the banner at the top to look at the entire first grade scope and sequence, And there are also other resources for the different items that are being taught and the teachers have access to. This is just another example with fourth grade, set up in a similar manner. And then seventh grade also, you have access to the scope and sequence, as well as some of the resources that the teachers use in order to assist them throughout the school year. Mathematics is also, let me go back for 1 second. When we are looking at our K through 6 curriculum, our primary resource is the units of study. We have also started to incorporate last year the science of reading. We have a balanced literacy approach, which includes a phonics program, a robust reading program, a robust writing program, and we believe firmly in having students work independently, have students work cooperatively, have teachers do explicit instruction during mini lessons, and also having small group instruction. For mathematics, our primary resource is the iReady Classroom, this is our first year, K-6, in which we've adopted it. And we also have our secondary resource, Tang Math. When you're looking at a scope and sequence, as I mentioned earlier, and I have just a couple examples up here, first grade and fourth grade, and I do apologize that it is small on the screen, but you will see that there are dates. So there is a timeline for which a unit is expected to be taught. Each teacher doesn't have to be on the same lesson on the same day, but it should be within a couple of days from each other about when you are teaching a particular topic. You will have the unit of study, you will have some lessons, and then you also have what resources are recommended for the teachers to use. There may also be some supplemental resource that a teacher decides to use because it meets the needs of their particular student, and that is also allowed. For science, for the primary resource for science is the Science 21 from Putnam Royal Westchester BOCES. And here's just an example of what the teachers see when they log into the Science 21 website. One of the things that's new to science this year is our 5th graders and our 8th graders will be taking a new science test this year. As part of the science requirements, similar to what happens at high schools with the science regions, our students will need to take 4 investigations, or if you would, labs, so science investigations prior to taking the 5th grade assessment and prior to taking the 8th grade assessment. So for the Wappingers Central School District, we have our 4th grade students conducting 2 investigations and our 5th grade students conducting 2 investigations. So they get their 4 prior to the 5th grade test. We also have our 7th grade students taking 2 investigations and our 8th grade students conducting 2 investigations. So they get the 4 assessments prior to the 8th grade exam. So some of the things that we are working on in ELA is we still have our consultants working directly at each of our elementary schools on the reading and writing project. We have incorporated using decodable books to enhance our phonics instruction. We have a totally revised phonics curriculum that we are using and incorporating in our classrooms as well as assessment, so we can really determine where the students are succeeding and where they may need additional supports. One of the things that we pride ourselves here in Wappingers and what we have found very beneficial to supporting all of our students is making sure that we have high quality instruction, and we do that through professional development that is embedded throughout the school day and throughout the school year with not only our consultants, but also our professional development consultants and also our instructional leaders through our principals, assistant principals, and our academic directors. We provide small group instruction to target those specific skills and needs that the students show that they need additional support in, and or to provide that enrichment to really support our higher level learners. We've been working on ensuring curriculum alignment across the grades, and we also feel that it's important to make sure that we have adequate and relevant instructional resources, which we continue to review and revise as needed. We also use data to inform instruction. We look at multiple data sets. We look at the iReady assessments, the New York State assessments, our teacher assessments, units assessments, to really get a full picture of what is happening in the classroom and in our schools with our students at each grade level to determine what will be our next steps with our curriculum. We also have data teams and response to intervention teams at each of our buildings that are run by our principals and or the support staff that they designate. The purpose of these data teams and response to intervention teams is to really to look at how we are supporting student needs and how we can better address students that may be struggling or those that need to be additionally challenged. So for last school year in the spring, when students took the ELA and the math assessments, this was the first time the students took the new assessments, the assessments based off of the next generation standards. This spring will be the first time the 5th and 8th grade students will take the new science test that's aligned to the New York State Science Learning Standards. So here we have a slide which shows a 4-year trend in ELA test scores. Even though the state tells us you should not compare this data from year to year because the tests are slightly different, and even the tests last year, the standards are different than what was measured in previous years. I think that it's important to look at how our students are performing from year to year. So there isn't a 2021 year, 2020 to 2021, because the state assessments were not given during those 2 years because of COVID. That's why you have 18, 19, 22, and 23. You will notice when you're looking at each of the grades specifically, you will see that in a majority of the grades, we either have surpassed how we did in previous years, even prior to COVID, and or we're extremely close, like we are closing those gaps. You will notice in 3rd grade that we are still slightly below where we were last year and even pre-COVID. So we're looking at that data about our 3rd grade students. And if you go back, our 3rd grade students now were our kindergarten students in 2020 when COVID hit and we went to virtual. So we know that our 3rd grade students, who were our first COVID cohort, if you will, are slightly below where we were prior to COVID. And so we're looking at our students' assessment data, really looking to see what they're still struggling with, what they still might need to be challenged on, and we're really making those changes in our curriculum and our instructional delivery. All of the grades are progressing nicely, but we continue to keep our eye on that data. I'm going to go over this slide and then skip the rest of the slides because each of the slides will talk about this data, but in each of the grades. This is the data from last school year, the spring, the 22 to 23 school year. The test was given in spring of 23. You have data from 3rd grade to 8th grade. The blue bar is Wappingers and the yellow bar is the state. You will notice in each of the grades that our students did outperform the state on average at all grade levels. And if you would like to look further to see how our students performed at the different levels, you do have this presentation that you can refer to. This math slide is very similar to the English slide as I discussed. You will notice from grades 3 through 8 that our students are outperforming how we did in prior years, and we're excited about the math growth. We do understand that the spring assessment was a new assessment, so we'll be interested to see how students perform this spring on the assessment and to compare how they did in the 22-23 school year. Additionally, you have information that explains how the district did compared to the state. One of the items I did want to go over, and I'm going to skip to grade 8 for a moment. I don't have that, so I apologize. I apologize. It says for the combined grade, when you have grade 8, that's the grade 8 math assessment. The Regents 8 are those students that took the the algebra Regents exam. And the combined is those students that are proficient in both from either counting the grade 8 and the Regents exam. So that's why you have the combined. That's what that means. So you have the grade 8 and you have the Regents exam. I apologize, I didn't explain that correctly. And then for the science data, this is similar. You had students either take the grade 8 science exam or students take the Regents exam. And you will notice for science that, once again, our students in the district are outperforming the state. Even though we are outperforming the state isn't necessarily a barometer. We're a barometer against ourselves, and we're always looking at ways to increase our proficiency rate by working directly with our teachers and our instructional leaders to look at the data to see how we can continue to support our students to ensure as many students as possible meet proficiency on the state exams. Any questions? Any questions?
Eddie?
Thank you, Dr. Caldwell. Just a quick question for the new requirements for the state science exams, which includes the lab work. Are you aware at any time, do we need to do any modifications in any of the classrooms at this point to make sure that students have what's needed in order to review and study that material for the test?
No, we do not need any modifications. We did purchase the materials that were needed for each of the labs, and that was done last year. So, and then we replenished anything that was needed at that time.
Okay, so there's no specific experiments or testing of anything, it's just all material? Just
Yes.
reading material, workbook and textbook and reference material? Nothing physical that they're going to be doing in terms of lab work, experiments or anything?
No, they will be conducting experiments, and those items have been purchased. So they need water bottles or light bulbs or batteries. Those items have been purchased.
Okay, thank you.
Morgan?
Dr. Cardwell, thank you for the presentation and quantifying and even taking that quantification, putting it in a picture form for us of what we're seeing at the third grade level, which is probably something that intuitively we felt. You mentioned analysis and possible alteration of delivery methods, not to put you on the spot, but could you give us an example or two of things that have been done and that we're seeing at least some early signs of improvement?
Yes, so we have been moving towards small group instruction. So we have scheduled, let's say a mini lesson where we have direct explicit instruction from the teacher on a particular topic that goes out to all the students. Then the teacher differentiates instruction and teaches students in small groups that really focus on their particular skills. So if there are high achievers in the classroom, they might be learning something slightly different than the lower achievers in the classroom on a particular topic. So we are focusing a lot on differentiation, really providing students with that support that they need, and having different workspaces in the classrooms where students can work on different activities.
Thank you.
Just a couple of grades, number one now.
I'm glad that all our grade levels are following the scope and sequence in math, as well as ELA and all grades. That's great. The work that you get, this particular document is really, really educationally sound. So I want to thank you for all the work that you did. Secondly, I'm glad to see that OK6 schools are receiving professional development from consultant and implemented the Teachers College Reading and Writing Program project. I think this is first year. How long has it been in existence?
So last year, we were able to have consultants come in and work with all of our K-6 schools. So this is the second year in which all of our elementary schools have a consultant working directly with them, along with our professional development specialists that we have in-house.
Well, I'm glad that's occurring in all the schools. Again, excellent document. As a teacher, that's excellent. If I was a teacher in no particular grades, I would love to have this document. So thank you very much for your effort.
Well, thank you. These documents are created by our teachers, our principals, and our academic directors. It's a real team. It is not something that is top down. It is something that is developed with everyone who uses the materials and teaches the students.
Are there any other questions? See, that's our leader here wants to make a comment. Go ahead. Thank you.
Dr. Cardwell, I want to commend you for your work. I want to commend our teachers. I want to commend our students. I want to commend our families. Needless to say, we work together as a team on behalf of your children and our students. And as Dr. Cardwell indicated, we do the best that we can to personalize the educational experience for each and every one of our 10,500 students. And I can tell you, seeing it in action, our teachers are doing just that. So I am not surprised that we're seeing the increases that we're seeing. I look forward to continued increases. That being said, we won't be satisfied until that number is 100%. I am happy that it exceeds the state number, which is good, but we've still got some work to do, and we're looking at the best practices that are in place, and obviously also analyzing the data to drive instruction as well as assess our students. So again, thanks to you, thanks to our teachers, thanks to our students, thanks to our parents. It's a total team effort. Thank you.
Six point oh one consent agenda. Does anybody want to remove anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none. John.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 6.02, 6.03, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.07, 6.08, 6.09, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, and 6.13.
Motion, Mike, second, Peggy. All in favor? Unanimous. 7.01, declaration of emergency, replacement of the fire alarm system at RCK.
Whereas the fire alarm system at Royce C. Ketchum High School, after a recent inspection, has been determined to be non-operational and must be replaced on an emergency basis in order to ensure the health and safety of students and staff occupying that building. And whereas it is estimated that the emergency replacement of the Royce C. Ketchum High School fire alarm system will cost an amount not to exceed $300,000. And whereas the emergency replacement of the Royce C. Ketchum High School fire alarm system described herein meets the threshold of a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, because 1, the emergency repairs are immediately necessary for the protection or preservation of life, health, property, or natural resources, and 2, are directly related to the emergency and are being performed to cause the least change or disturbance practicable under the circumstances to the environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby determines that the replacement of the Royce C. Ketchum High School fire alarm system, a Type 2 action for SEQRA purposes requiring no further environmental review, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby, 1, declares the replacement of the Royce C. Ketchum High School fire alarm system as an emergency, and 2, declares the cost of the replacement of the Royce C. Ketchum High School fire alarm system as an ordinary contingent expense, and shall take such action as is necessary to approve the funds for the work to be paid from the district's designated General Fund 2022-2023 fund balance as approved in the 2023-2024 annual budget in an estimated maximum amount not to exceed $300,000. 3, approves entering into a contract with the Open Systems Metro for the replacement of such fire alarm system without competitive bidding because such work is a true emergency. And 4, authorizes the superintendent of schools or his designee to execute the necessary documents to effectuate said resolution.
Motion Marie, second Peggy. All those in favor? Unanimous. The superintendent would like to make an announcement.
It is with great excitement and enthusiasm that I would like to formally introduce our recently approved Director of UPK and Math and Science, K-6, Ms. Audrey Rutgers. Welcome to Wappingers, Ms. Rutgers. Congratulations. Thank you, President.
7.02, approval of transfer agreement, esports logo.
Whereas the Board of Education has reviewed the proposed transfer agreement for a logo designed for esports and finds its terms acceptable to the school district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the transfer agreement authorizing the transfer of all intellectual property rights of the esports logo to the Wappinger Central School District, and further authorizes the board president to execute the attached transfer agreement on behalf of the Board of Education. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new esports logo, does hereby waive the first reading, and adopts the revision to Exhibit 5260E.1, official marks, effective January 9th, 2024, as requested by Principal David Ketzlauer.
Motion Marie, second Peggy. All those in favor? Unanimous. 7.03, approval of new club charter.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following new first-year club charter as submitted. John J. Racing.
Motion Marie, second Peggy. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. 7.04, second reading of adoption policies.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby approves the second reading of and adopts the following policy based upon the first reading by the Board of Education and the recommendation of the Policy Committee as stated.
Motion Marie, second Peggy. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. 8.01, board members may request additional agenda items. John?
Mr. Rumi, I would move to amend the agenda to add an agenda item.
So I second that. All those in favor? Unanimous. Yes.
8.03, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby confirms the finding of fact and penalty recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools dated January 8th, 2024 regarding student 010824, and be it further resolved that the Board President is hereby authorized to sign the Board determination letter on behalf of the Board of Education, and be it further resolved that the District Clerk is hereby authorized to mail the Board determination letter to the students' parents.
Motion Marie, second Peggy. All those in favor? Abstaining? Okay, the motion passes. 9.01, comments from the public. Alberta? None. Seeing none, make a motion to adjourn. Marie, Mike,
Resolved
second.
that the Board of Education does hereby adjourn the January 8th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. The time is 8:32.
Motion Marie, second Michael. All in favor? Unanimous. Have a good night. Enjoy the football game.